stress to the body and raises the stress hormones. So for me, I go with yoga and minimal stretching activity. But for people like Darwin who are already very active, so they can get benefit from Zumba or aerobic exercises or gym activities. So it depends on what is our current level of strength, flexibility, endurance and stamina. We can start from there and we can slowly build up. We'll all go for a break and assemble by, it's already very late, assemble by 10:40.
Shall we start? People are still joining in. Thank you. Back. So far we have been talking about how to stay healthy. What are some of the practices that we can do to keep the body healthy? Now we are talking about what happens if the body does go into disharmony. What do we do then? So how to restore that body harmony, that we'll talk about in this session. We already had a very good session on this labor exercise, postures and breath regulation. If there are any remaining questions from this, we can discuss them now. If there are no questions, no further questions, then we'll go forward. How many?
For yoga, what is the preferable time to do that, ma'am?
Yeah.
Because we are not having sufficient time in the morning. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So of course the best time would be in the morning, but if we don't have time in the morning, you can always do in the evening. But give a sufficient gap from the time you eat. So supposing you eat at 12 or 1 o'clock, after minimum 4 hours gap, you can do some yoga. Especially light yoga, there is no problem. So 5 o'clock, 5:30, like that you can do. How many of us are doing yoga on a regular basis? Very nice. And how many of us are doing pranayam on a regular basis? Very good. Those of us who are doing pranayam, have you noticed any change in your immunity level to colds, coughs? Yes? You can take the mic and speak. What did you notice?
Even during Corona, I didn't get affected. The first point, I never get with cold often. Very occasionally I get cold. This is the first point. And another thing, very intuitive. I mean, pranayama made me, rather than take decisions quickly and some what I smell, it will happen.
So that clarity in the mind.
Yeah.
That breath-mind link that we talked about.
Yeah.
Very nice. Somebody else was going to share? Can't hear.
Tamil language, ma'am. மேம் பிராணாயாமம் நான் எதுக்கு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணேன்னா, ஃபஸ்ட்டு எனக்கு தலைவலி அதிகமாக இருந்துச்சு, கோல்டு வந்து ரொம்ப அதிகமாக இருந்தது. அது எப்படி ரிமூவ் பண்ணுறது தெரியாமல் இருந்தேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் எனக்கு வந்து பிராணாயாமம் சொல்லி கொடுத்தாங்க. அது சொல்லி கொடுக்கும்போதே என்னோடய டஸ்ட்டு எல்லாமே வெளியில் வருதுன்னு நான் ஃபீல் பண்ணேன். ஃபீல் பண்ணி முடிச்சதுக்கப்புறம் என்னோடய ஆக்டிவிட்டீஸ் வந்து ஃபுல்லாகவே கண்ட்ரோல் ஆச்சு. நான் ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ரெஸ்ஸாக இருந்தேன்னா அதுக்கப்புறம் ரொம்ப காம் ஆகிட்டேன். ஸோ எல்லாமே அமைதியாகிட்டேன். அதுவும் இல்லாமல் என்னோடய பிரெயின் வந்து என்ன பண்ணுச்சுன்னா ரொம்ப டென்ஷனாக இருக்கும். எதுக்கு டென்ஷன் ஆகிறேனே தெரியாது, ஆனால் ரொம்ப டென்ஷனாக இருக்கும். இது பண்ணும்போது நானே அமைதியாகிட்டு என்னோடய சரௌண்டிங்ஸ் எல்லாமே நான் நோட் பண்ண ஆரம்பித்தேன். ஸோ இது எனக்கு நான் பெட்டராக ஃபீல் பண்ணது. நீங்கள் சொல்லுங்கள்.
What she is saying that she had a headache and she oftenly come across with cold, and after this pranayama he is being get reduced with that headache and cold, and she will be very anger and anxiety will be there, and after this pranayama he holds to take decisions slowly, and he is being feel to be comfort with his self and body. So with this pranayama he is being get benefited with that. So
Very nice.
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Actually, I am a COVID survivor. So before COVID, I used to practice martial art exercises, and they were very intense. But since I was hospitalized and my oxygen level was very low, so my doctor suggested me from switching the martial art exercises to the yoga practices. So I started implementing the pranayama and other breathing exercises. And due to the COVID, my immunity level was also very low, and I used to get early very fatigued and tired. But after practicing consistently the pranayama practices, even I lost my hair also due to that COVID. So, but what I feel is gradually my immunity is now strengthening, and even my hairs are also regrowing. So
Very nice.
that what change I felt.
Yes. So those of us who are not practicing it, we can start the practice and see the changes. I will suggest another thing. Even when you catch a cold or have a cough, even then start the pranayama. This thinking that a cold will have to last 7 days, not necessary. If you do pranayama, I mean, what I used to do many times in my profession also, a lot of times as a pediatrician, you have to see many sick children. And the children come with coughs, colds, they cough in your face. I used to not wear mask. But I used to not get colds and coughs easily. Probably because of the pranayama that I used to do regularly. But if and when sometime there is a cold, then I would do my pranayama twice a day. And invariably by the second or the third day it was gone. So I didn't have to take time off or do anything. So we have to try it out to see. I can tell you the examples of my children. Our older son used to have severe allergic rhinitis. Sneezing, early morning sneezing. So I told him to do pranayama. But he would tell me that, my nose is blocked, I can't do it. The alternate nostril. So I told him to do another practice which doesn't require. So I would tell him, okay, now you try Kapalbhati. So he tried that for 10 minutes and he said, now my nose opened up. So I said, okay, now you do that. Anulom Vilom. So whenever he was doing this regularly, the allergic rhinitis seemed to just fade away. He didn't have to take any medicine, he was fine. There was no problem at all. Once he went to the hostel, there also, in the hostel, he mentioned, at home as parents, we are there to guide. But once children go to the hostel, then they are on their own. So he called and told us that like maybe on Wednesday or Tuesday, he got sick with a cold. But he didn't do the pranayam or anything. By Wednesday night, he was very restless. He couldn't sleep at night because the nose was blocked. He couldn't sleep. So in the middle of the night, he got up and he did 10 minutes. And then he felt better and then he could sleep. So the next day, he did again. And the next day, he did again. And it was gone. So what I'm saying is that if we are having faith in a practice, we should not give it up. I can tell you many examples of patients. There was a lady who I used to treat her daughter, but she came to me saying that I have, I think for her also it was like allergic rhinitis, colds and coughs. She said that I can't eat ice cream. If I ever eat ice cream, my throat gets bad. So like I used to tell everybody, I told her you can do this alternate nostril breathing. So she said, I already do it. So I said, how many times do you do? So she said, I do for 15 minutes. I said, okay, expand it to half an hour. It will work, 100% it will work, but you just have to increase the duration. So she started doing for half an hour. At least I just gave her that suggestion and sent her away. She came back after a month or so, full of, life and happiness, and she said, it's like I have a new life. I have been eating ice cream, I have been doing this, I have been doing that, now no problem at all. So what I'm trying to say is that these practices, they will benefit, but sometimes we have to do them for some extended period so that whatever is the backlog in the body, that gets cleared up. So that's just as an aside. If there are no further doubts, then we'll go on to the next session. Yes.
Ma'am, how is that happening, ma'am? How is this magic happening? And what is that actually, I want to know in medical terms, ma'am. How is this happening? Like when we do this pranayama, people are seeing the differences. How is that? Is it like actually something is happening to our body?
Yes.
Or is it something pseudo, like you do this, definitely you will get all right? Are we like putting the faith alone in that?
No. There is it's a definite science, I would say.
So
see, what is happening is, I think Dr. Mirunalini mentioned the alveoli. They are like little balloons in the lungs of every person. Now, if a balloon is collapsed, it will not be able to carry air, obviously. So what pranayam is doing is, normally what happens is there is a negative pressure inside the lungs and there is a positive pressure outside. But when we are breathing shallow, many of these alveoli that are collapsed, they remain collapsed because we are breathing very shallow. When we give a deep breath in with that negative pressure inside, what happens is lot of breath can come in, provided we take the decision to take a deep breath. So when we take a deep breath, many of these collapsed alveoli, they open up because now the air is getting pushed in. From the outside, the positive pressure air is coming. That blows up the balloon. When the alveoli are now stretched, through the walls of these is where the air exchange is happening, or it is going into the blood. The capillaries, the fine blood vessels, they are carrying this oxygen from the alveoli. So if the alveoli is collapsed, that many alveoli we are not using in the lungs. The more we take deep breaths, that much more oxygen is available to the body. For every tissue in the body, for the brain, for every organ, oxygen is required. For all the body processes, oxygen is required. Now you take this in, you are getting that much more oxygen in the body. That makes all the difference. You will find how much you used to sleep, you require less sleep when you are doing pranayama.
Ma'am, but my question is how this is depressing your anger or the resentments?
Yes.
The emotions are like totally different. I'm like a new person, they are saying. How is this happening? I want to know what is happening medically. Yes, I understand the alveoli, the stretching, the blood vessels are like everywhere blood is going. But how this is related to the emotion? Because we were talking, the self is the one who is like feeling that resentment, angerness, everything. But the body, now I'm getting a bit of contradictions. That is why I want to know how is this happening.
So we mentioned what we call the breath-mind link. That the breath and the mind, they are linked. So you have, it is true that you have the choice of what feeling you have as the self. But many people are not paying attention to the self. They are not able to see their thoughts, feelings, all that. It requires some practice. But when you are doing pranayama, what you are doing is you are focusing on the breath. So you are slowing down the breath. You are having deeper breath, all that you are doing. We mentioned when you are angry, what kind of breath you have, you will notice fast. Now when you are slowing down your breath, this also has impact on the mind. So as the self, I have the potential to overrule many things in the body, provided it is within the material laws of nature. But if I have not made that choice yet, then the mind can still be impacted by these practices. So that's why when I don't have the practice, somebody shouts, I get influenced, I shout back. I slow down my breath, I become calm. Can you see the connection? I am angry, my breath is fast. I slow down my breath, I become calm. Makes sense? Is it okay?
Ma'am, in simple way I can answer her question, ma'am.
Yes.
Say, when we take more oxygen inside, first of all we get relaxed. That will make us calm. So that in situations we know that who is making a drama and who is true, everything we will come to know. So that we automatically what we will do, what to talk, what not to talk. And you will not get that, as ma'am said, you will not answer back. You will not have the same, that emotional, reflection. So this is pranayama. Slowly it will give you. Not on the fine day, you will not get that calmness. When you keep doing it, definitely the first point is, first you will realize self-realization will happen and you will turn calm. And you can able to, you can read minds of others. And certainly you will know what to talk and what not to talk. So emotionally you will have control and stability. Am I right, ma'am?
Well, I would say that, once you are calm inside, you can think more clearly. It's very obvious, right? When you are in anger or fear or tension or anxiety, you are not able to think very clearly. So now when you are calm inside, you have more clarity about the decision making. So it's like you are a different person.
Ma'am, these breathing exercises and pranayam, are they linked up with the secretion of some hormones like serotonin, melatonin, which are responsible for anger or happiness? Is that kind of biological phenomena also exist?
Yeah, so See, one way to look at it is some hormone is released in the body that is making me happy or unhappy. Another way to look at it is I am happy or unhappy, and the impact on the body is the release of these hormones. So definitely the linkage is there. When we exercise, there are some hormones which make us feel good. We call them endorphins, feel good hormones. So like that, definitely there are hormones that are released in the body. But when we think of it like this, we think I have no choice. The body is doing this, the brain has done this, these hormones are released, therefore I am feeling good. But I am the decision maker, right? So I can make that choice. I can also do it at the level of the self. So if I do it at the level of the self, that change with that feeling, it is possible that those kind of hormones will be released in the body. For instance, it was found that these feel-good hormones, the serotonin, endorphin, all this release also happens when people do some good deed, when they feel good about helping somebody. So if we do more research, maybe we can see that connection more clearly. But until we keep saying that only brain is in charge of the body, it will seem like the body is functioning on its own and I am a slave of the body. But that we should, go beyond and see that I can make choices. That we should be clear.
Ma'am, just to give a very simple answer to her. The question was, what is the magic behind it? Then first she put that word, and then later you explained, she said that physiology is fine. Emotionally, how it happens then? The very simple thing in my understanding is, our breathing process is taking place without our knowledge and notice. When we are concentrating on our breathing, that is what pranayama, then our attention is only there. We are not given a chance to give the attention to something else which is unwanted, which is actually making us angry and other thing. So whenever we are getting angry because of some issue, our full attention is there. So if you divert that attention into listening to our breathing, then normally we are coming down. That's why we are all advised to, whenever you are getting angry, you just listen to your breath and something else. So this is the emotional connect, I hope.
Okay, we'll go forward. We'll talk about restoring the body harmony. So, some of the important pillars of keeping the body healthy we talked about: intake, routine, labor and exercise, postures and breathing. So now we will look at what happens when the body does go into temporary disharmony, how to correct the disharmony. So first of all, we will check whether this disharmony is mild, moderate or severe. Then we can decide what kind of action to take to correct it. We'll also talk a little bit about herbal remedies, home remedies that can help us to restore this harmony. And many of these remedies will be available to us in our kitchens, and we can make use of them. So we all need to have some, at least minimal working knowledge of these remedies. So now we are coming into this second block of how to restore harmony in the body from temporary disharmony. So normally what we are doing, we do the program for health. We do all those practices, watch our intake, have the right routine, incorporate these things. So that will have this impact that it will keep the body healthy. Sometimes when we are unable to maintain these practices, or for whatever reason, the body does go into disharmony, check what is the state of the disharmony. If it is mild disharmony, just going back to incorporating the healthy practices, that may be sufficient, along with use of some herbal remedy. For example, supposing you have a stomach ache, there is bloating, there is acidity. Now body is in temporary disharmony, maybe due to overeating. So what we can do, be mindful of your intake for the next meal. Eat light, don't overeat next meal. Drink plenty of water. Sit in that posture after meals. If you sit in this posture, you can all try it out. After a meal, try to sit in this posture. Within 10 to 15 minutes, you will get a burp. Gas is coming out. But if you don't sit in this posture, it is sitting inside very comfortably. So we can try this out here or at home. We can all, when we come back from lunch, we can sit in Vajrasana for a few minutes, 20 minutes. You might be able to notice the burp comes up. So this is going to relieve. These are all connected. Gas, bloating, acidity, they are all connected. So now when you release this gas, it is going to help in the digestion. You can also take some roasted carom seeds. We call them ajwain. I think, what do you call? Homam. So then this body can come back to harmony. Just with these few small things. But if we are not aware of this, we might just take, we might go to the doctor, we might get worried what has happened, why this stomach pain is there, all sorts of things. But it may be something so simple where you don't have to go anywhere. If you are aware, you can correct it in a very simple manner. Olden days, we used to live in joint families. And the oldest lady of the house used to have all this working knowledge. So grandma would give everybody in the house the medicine. Grandchildren are having this problem, go to grandma. She will be able to guide you. Grandma will give some medicine, child is fine, playing everything over. Today, we are largely in nuclear families. And we are losing sight of these traditional therapies which were so useful. So we need to enliven these back. We need to learn about these. So all of us, if we have grandparents who are there, please talk to them, ask them what are their remedies for common conditions. Bloating and acidity. We take some pill for the acidity, but again we are fresh to eat more of the tasty food. So if we unmindfully keep eating despite these kind of conditions, worsening of the disharmony will happen. And over time, there can be other lifestyle related diseases. So what do we need to do? So besides the practices, the healthy practices, so it doesn't mean we have to stop the practices. Those practices have to continue. The intake, the routine, labor exercise, the postures, the breathing, all that you continue. Along with that, you might need to use some herbal remedies. You may need medication, perhaps with the help of a health practitioner. And eventually, this may all help to restore the body harmony. Then you can slowly give up the medication from the health practitioner. You may not need the herbal remedies all the time, but you should still continue the healthy practices, because those are what are going to prevent you from the body going back into disharmony. If there is severe disharmony, that may require more effort. So you may have to take help. You may have to go to the hospital. Some people may have to stay in the hospital. So of course, more time, more effort. Sometimes, if we allow it to just keep aggravating, the damage may even become irreversible. So before it goes to that, when we notice the mild itself, we can nip it in the bud, then it will not get to a bigger issue. So these are some of the common herbs. We all know about neem, lemon, aloe vera, tulsi. These are very familiar plants, right? All of these are antioxidants. They are very good for the body. They all decrease the free radicals in the body. The free radicals are the ones that cause disease in the body. So they are getting rid of them. Of course, they are very rich in vitamins. Some ways in which you can take them. Neem can be used as an anti-infective, even for skin disorders. A lot of times, neem paste is used. Many of you may have noticed as a child, if you got chicken pox, you were made to bathe with neem water so that the infection doesn't spread more. And so many things like that we may have used. Even for stomach worms, people take it in the form of a tablet. Neem tablets are available these days in many places. Yeah. Dengue also, many things can be used. Of course, many of these things will build the immunity. Particularly in dengue, what happens many times, the problem that makes it life-threatening is the platelet level in the blood drops very drastically, and that can be very life-threatening. And within a matter of days, it can be life or death. So, even when the suspicion is there, one can use papaya leaf juice. Papaya leaf is very readily available. I'm not saying papaya juice. I'm saying the leaf of the papaya. Extract the juice. You can just grind it and take the juice. It's very bitter, but maybe 1 teaspoon. It will help. Even if you have 1 teaspoon twice a day. The immunity increases, this platelet level starts rising, and the threat to the life, at least, that endangered part becomes reduced. You also have to take, of course, lots of fluids and other things, but this is something that is very useful. There is another herb which we talked about yesterday, giloy, which we'll show. That also is now available in tablets. That also builds immunity. That also you can take. For any of these kind of immune-related infections, disorders, these things can be taken. Huh? Yes. Gooseberry, Indian gooseberry, amla. How many of us take this on a regular basis? Very nice. Remember, we were talking about the constitutions and the imbalance in the constitutions. So if we take this amla every day, it is going to balance the constitution. It is helpful for all kinds of constitutions because it brings a balance in all the attributes. So on a daily basis, you can have this. You can just remove the seed from inside, cut it up, put it in a mixer, churn it with some water, and you get little juice out of it. Don't keep the juice lying for hours. Soon as you do it, have the juice. If you would like to have the fiber along with it, don't strain it. Just have it direct. But sometimes it can be hard to be had direct because it is so rich in fiber that sometimes you will find it hard to swallow. You can put honey. Very good. Yeah. So some people find it too sour and bitter to have. You can mix a spoon of honey in it and have it. And it's a very delicious drink. So if you are not able to have it unstrained, strain it and have it. If you are not able to tolerate the taste, put a spoon of honey. It's going to only add to the benefits. Then drink it up. You can do this. This will also, it's very, very rich in vitamin C. It will help prevent colds and coughs, other infections also. Yes, anti-aging also. Betel leaf, pan. Did you know that pan leaf we can take a mic. Others can't hear otherwise.
This betel leaf, during the cold season, my grandmother suggested to eat this to reduce the cold. And also, it increases the calcium level, they are saying.
Yeah, so this betel leaf, this pan leaf, I mean, in tradition, it has been coming through in tradition that after food you eat this. So it helps with digestion also. That's why we can consume it then. It's also very heating for the body. So like you rightly said, in the cold weather, to heat the body, you can have pan. Also, you know, things like constipation. Of course, any green leafy vegetable also will do the same. You can use it as a decoction for fever. Do you know? So when you get viral fever, you can boil some water, put a couple of pan leaves in that, some black pepper, and there may be different variations that people make out of it. And then boil it for quite some time, reduce the water level to maybe half, then drink small quantities. It will help to get rid of the fevers, viral fevers. Amaltas. This is a gut cleanser. This is the one. It looks like a very beautiful tree. The flowers are very nice. They're all hanging down like this. Some people consume the flowers also. But it also has some stick-like fruit, which has some gooey substance in it. That works as a very good laxative. So anybody who has constipation can use that fruit, cut it open, soak it in water, take out that, let it soak overnight, take out that gooey substance, consume that, and will be able to have free motion. It's very good for joint pains, for migraines, for skin disorders. Then there is Hadjod. All of these, by the way, you can grow in your home if you have a little bit of place. Huh? Hadjod, you're saying? Yes. Please say it loudly. What is it called? Perende. Okay. So this, You can see it's called something Cissus quadrangularis, and you can see the branches of this thing. It's like one of the cactus family, just like aloe vera, but here this has got these quadrangular shape of things. This can be used to make chutneys. This can be had mixed in, when you have boiling water, you can make like a decoction out of it. Important to see is it's very good for the bones. It can heal fractures very fast. It's now available even in medical, some of these companies that they have these Ayurvedic or traditional medicines, they also keep this product as pills. But of course, if you have the real stuff, you can just use it directly from your kitchen garden. If there is a fracture, it will heal faster with this. Good for heart health, good for asthma. Therefore, people also make in chutneys. Important to see, what you have to eat is, you have to remove this top covering. Inside there is a small whitish or transparent content. That's what is to be had, really. You can also have it raw, but you must make sure that at least these joints, they should be removed. I would not recommend having it raw because it can cause irritation in the throat. And you might, if you have that now, you might feel all day that something is stuck in the throat. It might take a day or so before that feeling goes. But you can cook it. You can cook it, you can make chutneys out of it. And if you boil it in water and strain it, then also there is no problem. Again, all are antioxidants. Giloy. This is giloy, what we were saying. It's like a creeper. It looks somewhat like pan leaf, but it is not. It has small red fruit. When it is raw, it is green. When it is ripe, it becomes red. Like little small cherries kind. What you have to use from this also is anti-infective. This is also immunity booster, blood purifier, good for liver disorders. Any kind of immunity problem, you can use this. So which part of this are you going to use?
Both the seed and...
What you have to use is the stem. The stem is the one. And the thicker the stem, the better it is. So if you have a thick stem, some plant which has been there for a long time has a thick stem. The thicker the stem, the better it is. And if you make it climb on a neem tree, it will imbibe some of the qualities of neem also. So double benefit. So you can make it, you can grow it in your house. In any small area also you can grow it. Just like bougainvillea grows anywhere, this also, it grows in the wild. Many times we see it, nobody knows, but it's, growing on electric lines and wherever. But you can actually grow it and use it in your homes. So this stem, thick part of the stem, that if you cut it up, soak it in water, leave it overnight, and then you boil it next morning, you can make a decoction out of this and have. It's slightly bitter in taste. So again, when you cool it down to somewhat warm temperature, not very hot, then you can mix it with lemon If you put lemon in very hot or boil it, then the vitamin C gets destroyed. Same is true of amla. You can add ginger. Ginger you can boil with this. It will be very helpful for your throat, nose, your immunity, all of those. You can also add Hadjod in the same thing. Now all of these, you can brew it, then strain it, take it out. If you like it just like that, you can have it just like that. Some people like to put a little rock salt in it and have it. That's also fine. If you like sweet and you want to put honey, wait till it cools to at least lukewarm. Then you add honey. Because honey gets denatured if it is exposed to very high heat. So you don't want to do that. I know today in YouTube and all you will find recipes where you are cooking with honey, but that's not preferable. Jamun. How many of us like to eat jamun? Nice. Very nice. Yes. Have you tried eating jamun without salt? What happens? Something in the mouth, dryness, some stickiness, something. But if you add the salt to it, then that feeling is less. Have you noticed? So there are reasons why traditionally people are eating things a certain way. If we find out more about the traditions, we may get to know more things. This is also good for heart, for arthritis, for asthma, for digestion. The seed of the jamun is used to make the medicine for diabetes. Do you know that? In homeopathy, there is a very good medicine which is made out of this seed of the jamun. Very effective for diabetes. There is this Arjun tree, this one. The bark of this, it keeps peeling. So if you have this tree, you can just, the bark flakes off, you can take these flakes off. Again, you can boil this in water and you can consume that water. This is very good for heart health and for lowering high blood pressure. So those of us who have those conditions, of course if you grow the tree now, it will take some time to grow. But still, if not you, somebody else will benefit from it. I think it is important to grow these plants, these trees that are very useful for our health, so that more and more people can use these. Lemongrass. How many of us use lemongrass? For lemon tea, okay, whatever. Yeah. So this is also a very good thing that one can use. It has a very nice smell to it. Nice, we call it lemon tea because it tastes like, smells like lemon. This is also an antioxidant, anti-infective, blood sugar stabilizing, all those benefits can be there. Of course, this is a very neatly cut out lemongrass, but it grows in the wild just, in a huge, as a plant that just spreads out. So now there are some plants, we talked about photosynthesis. So most plants In the daytime, they are emitting what? Oxygen. Night time, they are emitting what? Carbon dioxide. So we say don't keep the plant in the house. Have you heard this? Many people say, you want to keep a potted plant, don't keep it in the house. Keep it in the veranda or in the yard or something. Because if they are emitting carbon dioxide and you need to consume oxygen, now there is a problem. But there are some plants which are emitting oxygen day and night. People, the ficus variety, these big trees, they release oxygen day and night. Neem, that also releases oxygen day and night. Tulsi, this also does the same. Money plant, the plant that we always thought is useless plant, doesn't do anything. Minimal effort is required, so people put in a little bottle with water and put it somewhere. But it is also emitting oxygen day and night. Aloe vera, snake plant, erica plant. So I'm sure there are some options that we can choose out of this and keep. If not in the house, you can keep in the yard or in your, what you call, courtyard or wherever. This is very good for teeth-related problems. So if you have a guava tree in your house or nearby, take those leaves, boil them in water and drink that water. These are all forms of herbal teas that you can have. And it might be a very good idea to have different types of teas every day. So many benefits are there for many of these. Antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, mouthwash, tooth and gum health. All these things are, you can use the guava leaf, papaya leaf. The extract or the juice, now it is well known that it is very beneficial in dengue fever. And just imagine, for platelet drop, if you are using this juice, it doesn't take that much effort. You can extract the juice, consume it, platelets start slowly coming up. But if you don't know about this, what it requires to bring the platelets up, if they have dropped too low, you might have to go to the hospital. You might have to undergo fluid therapy, IV fluids. Sometimes, even if you give a person blood transfusion, because these are platelets, they are in small clumps, you have to give large quantity of platelets, so you need like 20 people to donate blood. From that blood, you will extract only the platelets, give packed platelets to this person. So how much expense is going to come about? Then the platelets will come up, but until and unless the immunity problem is solved, very soon you will find again they start dropping. So again you need platelet transfusion. So people can end up spending lakhs. But if we had taken a simple precaution and used this, then maybe it could have been prevented. Of course, one needs to be cautious and one needs to, monitor things. But there are many examples in practice where we can see that these efforts, if we make, then we can get over things much faster. So this part we can do. We can make our own lists by talking to the elders in our home and trying out the various herbs when the body is in mild disharmony. Can we do that? How many of us have grandmothers who are there? Very nice. So you can call them. If they are there with you, you can talk to them. If they are far away, you can call them. Find out more things, what they did for various remedies. Yes, turmeric. Turmeric also is very, very beneficial. It is being used even for getting out of things like cancer, very major issues that we consider major. But somewhere we don't know the causes of many diseases, so we don't know what to use for them. But soon, I think with research, we'll be able to find more and more of these uses.
Ma'am, the decoction of the guava leaf is said to reduce the sugar level. Ma'am.
Yes, yes.
And
We should add
I've
that.
seen my neighbor, he had some wound in his leg and it has to be amputated, but the sugar level was high. So they made him drink for 2-3 days and it reduces drastically. And another
nice.
thing I wish to tell out of my experiences, when my son was small, like we had to put the diaper that time, he had got rashes. So this red sandalwood paste it cured him.
Yeah.
Just one application and the rashes went.
Very true. Sandalwood paste, that is very, very beneficial. That is also something we can add.
அந்த மரப்பாச்சி பொம்மை கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கீங்களா? அதில் இழைச்சி வச்சேன் நான். That red
Kupai mani also.
Rashes, burns, all those things. Aloe vera is also very useful. Even the sandalwood paste is very useful. Very cooling for the body. Yes. Very nice. Yes. Yes. So this was just a general list of small things. Now there are many. I'll not go into the whole detail because it will take very long time. But I will just mention a few things. For indigestion, what all you can take. Many options are there available. Many things from this are generally available to us in our homes. We may not be using them very often. See, these days, especially if you look at recipes, people say, you add this, it gives a very nice taste. You add this spice, it gives very good flavor.
While starting biryani, we used to put the cloves and cinnamon in the oil.
So it is not just for very good taste and flavor. It also ensures a lot of things that lead to harmony in the body.
They used to put mustard seeds first, then they will start whatever.
Yeah. So even now in our traditional cooking, you make coconut chutney, you put tempering, you add ginger or you add mustard seeds and all. So every spice has a role. It has something which is contributing to the harmony of the body. People are not just using it for taste and flavor, isn't it? So if we know what the benefits are, then all the better we can use them. Yes.
Ma'am, we are so rich in these spices and herbs in India, but you were in the Western countries. What would those people do, ma'am? Because they don't have any of these. For everything they depend on doctors, is it? Or how they manage their home remedies? What kind of spices they use? Because they are definitely not aware of all these.
See, nature is not selective. Nature provides for every human being, regardless of region. So they have their own set of spices. They have their own traditional ways in which their grandmothers have taught. But I have to say for the US that it's a very recent culture. It's only like 200 years old. So how much they have retained of original cultures, that is not sure. Some people do use spices. But it is true that not to the extent that they are used here. And here also, if you see, most people are using just out of habit. That when you make this, you have to put this, and you have to put this, and you have to put this. But we don't know why we are putting it or what it does for us. So we can learn about that and we can find out. Today now, many people in the West are also looking at things like cumin, like carom seeds. They are using them in their cooking because they can see the benefits. And many herbs are there over there also that people are using. I am not so familiar with the names, I don't remember now. Rosemary, thyme, many things are there. Oregano, so many things are there. So they use, there also people might be using just for flavor, for taste. They may not be aware of the actual uses. But I think this is important for all of us to understand and have some basic knowledge. Because then we are going to be the grandmothers for the next generation. So we better know. We have a lot of homework to do.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. If I look at back, my father used to made me smell vinegar in childhood. So that time I did not think of that way, but now after attending this session, I want to know what was the specific reason. He used to made me smell vinegar.
For what?
That's what I want to know. So is there any...
Like when you were sick or just like...
No, regularly in childhood.
I am not sure. You should ask somebody in your family. So like this, there are many options. For abdominal pain, there are a whole lot of things you can do. Loss of appetite. We have fennel seeds. After meals, very often we have fennel seeds. We have betel leaf. We have these things. They are all very helpful. They help in digestion. Banana leaf, here we are having on banana leaf, there are many good properties of banana leaf. It's not just for the show, but actually it is supposed to, I believe, remove the toxins from the food. Therefore, they put in banana leaf so that if there is anything in the food, it can get taken up by the banana leaf. And then the banana leaf is very cooling. So in fact, in traditional systems of therapy, when there is too much heat in the body, they wrap up the body, of course with some medicated paste, they wrap the body in banana leaf.
Body in banana leaf, fire injuries.
Yes, fire injuries. So anything related to heat, because banana leaf is so cooling, so they use that. So many of such practices are there. We should find out so many of our traditional things that we are using, but we are not knowing the benefit, then we are just using for taste, for flavor. Okay, this flavor seems nicer, let's substitute this with this. But every spice has some role in it.
Ma'am, during teeth my father usually he did that is the clove. Yeah, he is keeping that place.
Yes.
So what is that doing, ma'am?
Yeah, so you will notice that the pain comes down.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's down.
It is also there in our list. We'll come to it.
Okay.
If we come to it. So for flatulence, this is very commonly used. In all our cooking we might be putting. But what we do for convenience, we make ginger garlic paste and put it in a bottle and keep in the fridge. That is not so good. You will find the difference, at least on holidays. Try to grind fresh ginger, put fresh garlic in the food, and see how much difference there is in the taste of the food, even in the effect of the food it will be there. Especially when you grind something and keep it for a long time, wet things. Now, remember we talked about exposure to air leading to oxidization of the material. So now once it's oxidized, now it is going to cause little problem for the body, not so good for the body. Whereas if you do it fresh and add it to the food, then that problem is not there. Many of us, we cut some vegetables and put them in water. How many of us do that? Nobody does. Sometimes people, of course you wash first and then you peel it, say it's potato. Many people cut up the potato and put it in water so that the color doesn't go away. Color doesn't become black. Same thing with brinjal. They wash it, they cut it, then they put it in water. What's happening? Banana also, raw banana. So what is happening? Oxidization has happened and all the nutrients are going away in the water. Then we throw away the water. Not much use. Better to cut straight away and cook it. For stomach related disorders, pomegranate is very, very useful. Lemon, pomegranate, these things are very useful. Of course, there are many options. Acidity. This is one very good option, tender coconut water. Very soothing, very cooling. Previous slide. Okay, then what you can do, if it is too costly for you, have aloe vera. Aloe vera grows, you just have to plant one and then so many more will keep popping up. You take a small piece of the aloe vera, you remove the coverings, you take that gel and you eat the gel. Highly alkaline, yes, directly. It will reduce acidity. Take a mic. Can we pass the mic to Usha ji?
Ma'am, should we have it empty stomach, all those herbs, or after food? Which is better for absorption?
Always absorption will be better before meals.
Empty stomach, okay.
But if you are doing 2-3 things, then now you'll say, how can it be empty stomach when I have to have this and this and this? So minimally if you have eaten, that is better. But if you are going to have something after food, then obviously the absorption will not be that good.
Ma'am, a question, ma'am. Is it advisable to consume raw garlic, ma'am, daily?
Well, the West has promoted that for many things, for heart health, for blood pressure, whatever else. But if you see really for heart health, for blood pressure, any vegetables you have on a regular basis, they will be helpful. No vegetable is going to be harmful for high blood pressure, for heart health. So garlic is one option, I would say, not the only option. Problem that some people may have with garlic is it is highly acidic. So those who have any problem with acidity, soon as you consume it empty stomach, you will feel some burning. Anybody has noticed that?
Better we go for rasam.
Yeah, rasam is fine too.
Where you have garlic, pepper.
But see, the difference is, in rasam it is all cooked. Here you are having it raw. So instead of raw garlic, you can have raw fruit, raw vegetable, raw salad. That will also be very good for heart health, for blood pressure problems.
But
For flatulence, if you are taking, then yes, you can boil it and have. You can cook it and have.
But there are many advices comes that raw garlic is going to be help us in a
Cholesterol.
greater way for cholesterol, blood pressure, and also heart health. But
Yeah.
consuming on daily basis, minimum of 3-4 pulses, that's okay, or it will create any problem inside in the intestine or stomach, something like that,
Yeah.
in the long run.
Yeah, so in the long run, it is acidic. It will cause some acidity issues. For those of us who have very strong digestive systems, it may not cause a problem. For those who have slightly weaker digestive system, it may cause major problem. So I would still say that for heart health, for low cholesterol, have plants, greens. No plant has cholesterol in it. Plants have zero cholesterol. You can go ahead and have. There is no problem.
Another one thing I want to clarify is there are many people says that this garlic is also emotional stimulant kind of food, and we have to avoid that. That is also they are saying. Is it true, ma'am?
Yeah, so those who are in the practice of, those who are seekers, like sages, like saints, or people who are in the practices of meditation. So garlic has an impact on the mind so that it becomes more excitable. So they say that having garlic in the food interferes with those practices. Therefore, when you go into temples, there is no problem with ginger. But most temples will not have anything with garlic. Onion and garlic, these two things are considered to be very causing excitability and that kind of impact on the mind.
But medicinally, these two are highly
Medicinally,
recommended.
it is fine. Medicinally, it is fine. That's why I said for people who are doing those practices, they may not like to, and that is why in many religious places, in temples and all, they don't want to have anything with onion or garlic.
Okay,
Ma'am. Yeah,
Huh?
it's me.
Turmeric? What about turmeric? Tamarind. Tamarind rice they have in prasad. I have no idea that they they don't add garlic in that.
Yes, ma'am. Amla and lemon juice like that way when I take, I get acidity, ma'am. And what's the problem for that? And another thing, I need remedy for acidity.
For
acidity.
Acidity. You will notice here that the amla is here. Actually, it does not cause acidity. Even lemon does not cause acidity. That is a myth that we think that lemon is citric and therefore it causes acidity. In fact, you can try this out. If you eat very spicy, oily food,
Yes, ma'am.
Eat little bit of lemon. You will be able to tolerate that spice better.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
That is only possible if it is not acidic. If it is acidic, it will become worse, isn't it? So actually, when it interacts with the body, it has an alkaline effect. So therefore, you can tolerate spices better with little lemon. So if you are having acidity issues, some of the things that you can do, I don't know if you have mentioned it here. So it's not been mentioned here, but you know ash gourd, the green pumpkin you call it, no?
Yes,
green cover, white inside.
Yes, ma'am.
That is one of the most alkaline fruits there is.
Okay.
Even bottle gourd, but even better than bottle gourd is ash gourd.
Okay.
So you remove the covering of the ash gourd,
Okay.
take out the seeds, put it in the mixer, blend it, and have the juice. First thing in the morning every day. Your acidity will definitely come down.
Thank you, ma'am.
Aloe vera also can be used. Just the gel part, you can eat it as is. Acidity will come down. You were mentioning about high blood pressure and those things. Even for those, if you take bottle gourd juice or ash gourd juice, very, very alkaline. It will bring down high blood pressure. It's very good for heart health, for cholesterol, all those things.
Ma'am,
see here we have brought in lemon. Just one moment. Here we have brought in lemon for vomiting. When do you get vomiting? When you have acidity, isn't it? Here you are using lemon juice, even for vomiting. And we talked of alkaline water. When you mix lemon in water and you keep it there. If you recall, when we talked of alkaline water. So it's actually helping to get rid of acidity in the body. So that way lemon is not something that causes acidity, neither is amla. Do you have wheat or do you have rice? No wheat? Only weekly twice, okay. Because sometimes wheat, which is heating for the body, that is also creating many problems with acidity for many people. So you can watch out. If it is not suiting you, you can try going off wheat for a few weeks and see the difference. Yes. Somebody you had something? No, she was asking something.
no, this Triphala they tell no. Triphala. That
Yeah.
is,
What about it?
gooseberry, that also has some medicinal properties.
Yes, yes. Triphala is a combination of 3 herbs. Triphala is hadhad, bahed and amla. 3 things. And it is very good for digestion. It is very good for cleansing the bowels as a laxative. It is also very good for, say, supposing you have eye infection. You can soak it in water, strain that, and use that water to sort of splash on the eyes. That helps with these kind of infections. So many possibilities are there. Yes.
Ma'am, in lemon, it's rich in citric acid, so they are all citrus fruits. So isn't it more acidic than alkaline? We are wondering.
This is what we think, but try to explore this and check it out. Do some research on it. Once it is coming into the body, it is acting like an alkaline material. And like we said about that, spice. Very spicy food, you may not be able to tolerate it. It's very acidic also. You take a little bit of lemon and you don't feel that much burning. That is one indicator. Plus the water that we said you can make as alkaline water. So you take water, ordinary water, you mix some lemon into it and keep it overnight and drink it the next day. That is very alkaline, good for the body. But you can explore it a little bit and see. This was a myth. People used to think lemon means you have to stay away, it will cause acidity, but it doesn't. It's an antioxidant actually.
Ma'am, regarding this alkaline water, in order to use lemon, so is it confined to utensils of glass, or we can use with copper glass and steel glass also?
I don't know about the copper part, but steel is an inert substance. It should not make a difference in steel. I'm not sure about the copper part. Glass, I am confident that it is so. Huh? That's what I'm thinking. Some reaction between lemon and copper, I'm not sure. Lemon is very good for cleaning copper vessels. No, better than Vim.
Yeah, they're promoting lemon.
Now, how much lemon is there in that, I don't know. But if you take fresh lemon peel and you use it for cleansing the copper utensils, they will become shiny and bright.
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Brick powder also.
What powder? Brick powder. Okay. That I didn't know.
Traditional, ma'am. Material,
nice.
We are using that.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have one doubt. Apart from this, some specific problem I want to share. Some of them having regular fat with the smell. What is the cause and what is the remedy, ma'am?
Regular?
Gas release with the smell. Fat.
Yeah, so that means bowel cleansing is not happening properly. So, like she was mentioning Triphala. Triphala is a herb that is available it's a powder that is available in many of the traditional Indian medicine stores. So you can consume that at night, 1 teaspoon of that mixed in water, and next day motion will be free. Lot of times what happens, we talked about the bowel, the small bowel being 22 to 26 feet long. The stuff has to come out from all this distance and then come out of the body. So if everything doesn't get evacuated properly and it is old and we are having indigestion, therefore gas is forming, then it will cause smell. So better cleansing, you can have more cleansing foods, more vegetables, more fruit.
Ma'am, for that you can eat radish. Radish is the best medicine for these problems. Radish. Either salad or you can cook it sambar or chutney. Radish. Gas problems. And garlic also. Release our.
See, gas formation, when lot of gas is formed, when lot of gas is formed, now it is going to block the passage of the motion. Motion can't pass because the gas is blocking. So if you take something that will release the gas, then the motion can pass freely. That passage becomes cleared.
Ma'am, but I am asking, it is happening. It is gas release is happening. Some of the old people I am asking. I am asking for my relative only.
As age advances, the digestion becomes weaker.
So we have to change our food things.
Listen to me. As age advances, the digestion becomes weaker. If you recall, we said in the elderly, the Vata predominance or type A airspace predominance is there. So more air in the body. Therefore, they are likely to pass more gas in older age, after 60. So what can you do? That is part of the thing. Not that we can stop them from preventing gas, but if it is foul smelling, then somewhere the cleansing of the colon can be done. How would you do that? Introduce more fruits and vegetables. Maybe give them something like a small laxative, like we talked about Triphala. They can use that to clear the stomach. Then that problem will come down. And give in the diet what they can digest. Don't give like what the beans sprouts and all those are heavy for an older person to digest. Then they'll have more gas if they can't digest. Okay.
Ma'am, how often this Tripura has to give, ma'am?
Triphala?
How often?
Once at night you don't want to do overly also.
Okay.
You see the impact for that person. You give one evening and you see the impact next day. Then you decide.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
I think we'll need to stop. We have gone over time. So many of these things are there. Like I said, I'll not go through all of these. But the slides will be with you. You can go through these slides. Cold, coughs, many things are there. Restoring harmony in the body from temporary disharmony using home remedies. And when do you seek help? We'll come back and do this part before we go to the next part. Okay, I think we can stop here to the lunch. Those of us who are able to sit in Vajrasana, you can sit for about 15 to everyone. We'll finish this part of the session, the remaining part, then we'll go on to the next session. So our priority should be very clear. Priority should be for staying healthy. That staying healthy we can do with all these practices: intake, routine, labor, exercise, postures, breath regulation. And while doing this, or in case if something gets left out and the body goes into disharmony, then we can go for medication temporarily. But even when we go for medication, we can continue to do the healthy practices. So when is it time to go to the doctor? That also we must know, right? So when symptoms continue to increase, despite the fact that you are making all those efforts, you are taking care of all the practices, plus you are using home remedies, but still symptoms are not improving, or symptoms are worsening, it is time that you will take help. 2-3 days we have been concentratedly doing everything, and the condition does not improve, then it may be time to take help. While we are doing all those practices, something seemed to improve, but again it is back and it's not going away. Recurring symptom. Then also we may need to take help. Suppose symptoms have come down, but overall you're not feeling hungry, you're very tired, lethargic, dull, activity is down, appetite is down, and those symptoms are not improving. Again, it is time to go and see the doctor. Or if any of the efforts you've made have led to some problem for you, then also better to seek help. So the idea is, yes, we need to do the practices for staying healthy. But it is not that we cannot take medicine or we must not take medicine. When it is there is a need for taking medicine, please do take medicine, but also continue the practices whenever possible. So to sum up everything, despite making efforts at being healthy, if the body goes into disharmony, then we have to check, is the disharmony mild, moderate or severe? For mild, we make concentrated effort at doing all the practices, and along with that sometimes take herbal remedies, and that should get rid of the problem. Moderate disharmony, you continue to do the efforts for staying healthy, plus you may need medication. Once the body goes into moderate disharmony, it may take longer time. So the effort will have to be made for longer time, longer duration. Severe disharmony, sometimes the damage may even become irreversible. Then we may have to go for what we are referring to as treatment, where the body function is not happening and you have to take some external source for getting rid of the body disharmony. For example, somebody whose kidneys are not working, they use dialysis. So the job of the kidneys is to purify things inside, get rid of the toxins. If the kidney is not able to do the job properly, it can be not so good for the body and you cannot maintain it for too long like that. Then they may require something like dialysis, where an external machine is doing the job of what the kidney was supposed to do. These are last minute options. So before the body goes into such severe disharmony, whatever we can do, we can try to do. Even if you are requiring this third option, treatment, still I would say whatever healthy practices we can do, we should do. So when there is early indicator of disharmony, it is important that we don't just suppress the indicator. So in this fast-paced life, we may be doing all sorts of things for our children also, for ourselves also. Children have fever, but they have exam. No, how can he miss the exam? Take this pill, fever will come down, go give your exam. What we are doing is actually, the body has some natural processes in trying to get back into harmony. We are disrupting that process. So I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but whenever the temperature of the body is raised, the body is able to fight infection better. The white cells which fight the infection, they are able to travel to the site of infection faster. They are able to do their job more efficiently when the temperature is higher. So nature has already got this inbuilt system. Now in the presence of infection, we give the child a medicine, fever reducing medicine, and say go to school. Body is going to get strained, infection is on, we have lowered the body temperature, the white blood cells can't do their job properly. It is possible that the infection may take longer to get controlled, or may become worse and may require more measures, more effort. So some people say, I don't know, when I was in practice, several parents used to come and say, child is sick, you should give some medicine so that just make sure he doesn't fall sick. Tomorrow is the exam. I said, there is no guarantee like that. we want things fast paced. It must happen now. Otherwise, not possible. So, I would say that, what is the likelihood that through those, how many years we spent? 20 years? 18, 20 years for education? Sometimes more. What is the likelihood that in all those years the child will never fall sick during exam time? We have a very unreal expectation. It will never happen like this. So do the best we can to keep the child healthy in normal times. And if body goes into disharmony, if the body needs rest, it needs rest. We have to give it that rest, we have to give it fluids, we have to give it other things. And a use of the home remedies, we must all have a working knowledge of these, so that we can make use of these as and when required. And then we talked of what all to look for. When things are not improving, then it may be time to seek help. So that's what we have in this session. In the next session, we will come to the next part of health. So we said, for holistic health, we have to look at health of the self, health of the body, and health of the environment. With this, we come to the end